Welcome to the second segment of the Kobayashi Maru course. Let's go back to that Star Trek moment, the alarm blaring, the impossible choice. The scenario where no matter what you do, someone loses, something breaks, or a part of you doesn't work out the same. What we're really asking now is, what makes a situation like that? How do we know when we're inside one? And not just overreacting to pressure or complexity. Because life throws all kinds of hard decisions at us, but not all of them are Kobayashi Maru moments. A difficult decision can still be a winnable one. You might have to compromise, you might face backlash, but there's usually some version of a resolution, a way forward that feels right enough. But in a no-win scenario, the deeper you go, the more you realize every path costs something fundamental. It's not just risk, it's sacrifice. Real no-win scenarios carry real weight, not theoretical weight, not which college do I go to, or should I fire this client kind of a weight. I'm talking about the choices where a friend's trust hangs in the balance. A career could derail. A truth could destroy someone's illusion of safety. Or a silence that could protect but could also corrupt. These are the moments where the values clash. Not good versus evil, but good versus good. Sometimes, what makes a scenario unwinnable isn't the stakes, but the system around it. A system that punishes transparency, that rewards complicity, that makes you pick between being true to yourself or being allowed to stay in the room. That's what whistleblowers face. That's what burned out nurses face. That's what young people face when they realize their elders will not change, and that asking them to costs more than staying silent. Imagine this. You're part of a team. You discover something's been covered up. A safety risk, a manipulated number, a false claim. You bring it up quietly. You're ignored. You raise your voice. Suddenly, you are the problem. Now you're stuck. Speak louder and you're disloyal. Stay silent and you're complicit. Either way, you lose trust, belonging, or sleep. That's not just a hard call. That's a no-win. Or maybe it's not systemic. Maybe it's personal. Your best friend and your partner are in conflict. You know the truth of both sides. You've been asked to pick. But picking would betray one of them. And staying neutral, that feels like betrayal too. Kobayashi Maru moments don't always involve politics or war. Sometimes they happen in the softest places of our lives, where love and loyalty collide. One of the cruelest parts of these scenarios is how they pretend you still have control. The simulation gives you buttons to press, options to click, but every path is poisoned. And still, you blame yourself for not being smart enough to find the secret third option. This is important. It's not always your failure. Sometimes the structure was rigged from the start. Let's draw a line. A hard decision challenges your creativity. A rigged decision challenges your identity. Because no matter what you choose, you'll be changed. You lose something. And the real test is whether what you lose is worth what you keep. Some people try to escape no-win situations by saying nothing, freezing, ghosting, withdrawing. And sometimes, honestly, that's the best they can do. But silence is not neutral. Silence protects something. The question is, what is it protecting? And at whose expense? Another brutal feature of no-win scenarios is this. Other people will judge your choice from outside the fire. They'll tell you what you should have done. They'll second guess your actions with perfect hindsight and zero cost. And if you're not careful, Their certainty will drown out your knowing. So part of surviving the Kobayashi Maru is this: learning to live with the echo of people who never had to make your choice. Now here's where it gets interesting. Just because you can't win doesn't mean you can't act. A no-win scenario strips away the illusion of control, but what's left behind is something raw, something pure. Agency, character, the part of you that chooses anyway. Let's take a real-world example. Sophie Scholl, a university student in Nazi Germany. She and her brother were caught distributing anti-Nazi pamphlets. They knew the risk. They were executed. No rescue, no rewriting the rules, no hero's reward. But to this day, her choice echoes because she chose integrity over survival. She didn't win, but she chose. That's a key idea. There is dignity in defeat, if the defeat was honest. If the loss came from standing your ground. If the price you paid bought something real. Clarity, truth, alignment with your values. That's not failure. That's a kind of a victory. No-win scenarios leave marks. Sometimes visible, sometimes invisible, but always there. A quiet internal knowing. I made a choice when it would have been easier not to. Or, I couldn't save everyone, but I didn't abandon myself. These moments become part of your moral architecture. So let's pause here. Think of a time when you were in a no-win situation. Maybe you didn't name it like that back then. But now, looking back, was there a cost, no matter what you chose? Did you walk away with a scar or a deeper sense of self? You're not alone. We've all walked through fire, but naming it helps us carry it differently. No-win scenarios teach us something, even when no one is grading. They show us what we're loyal to, what we're willing to lose, who we become when approval, reward, and recognition are no longer on the table. In a way, they reveal our personal constitution, the inner rules we live by, even when the world outside offers us no validation. In a Kobayashi Maru moment, most people lean toward one of three responses. 1. Fight. Challenge the scenario head on. 2. Flight. Walk away, withdraw, protect what you can. 3. Frame shift. Reimagine the rules, reinterpret what success even means. None of these are wrong. Each one reflects a different instinct for survival, ethics, and self-definition. What matters is whether your response was conscious or just conditioned. It's tempting to look back and say, I guess I'm the kind of person who always avoids conflict. Or, I always speak up. But these moments don't define your personality. They reveal your programming, what you were taught to value, what you were trained to fear, and more importantly, what you're now free to question. One of the most haunting things about these situations is that they echo long after they end. You replay them in your head. You ask yourself what you should have done. You imagine alternate outcomes, even years later. But the deeper truth, they shape the way you face future dilemmas. They become part of your decision-making DNA, not because they went well, but because they tested you. There's a term in philosophy called moral residue, the emotional and ethical trace that remains after a hard choice. Even if you made the best possible decision, you may still carry guilt, sadness, or regret. And that's okay. That residue doesn't mean you failed. It means you felt something. It means the situation mattered. It means you showed up with your humanity intact. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Some no-win situations are engineered on purpose, especially in leadership training, law enforcement, the military, or corporate ethics programs. Why? Because they reveal something that success can't. How someone reacts under impossible pressure. But here's the twist. Just because a test is intentional doesn't mean it's fair, or wise, or that it prepares people for reality instead of traumatizing them. Sometimes no-win setups are used not to build character, but to consolidate power, to isolate dissenters, to punish those who refuse to play along, to break people down so they'll accept smaller cages, smaller dreams, smaller selves. That's when the test stops being a mirror and becomes a weapon, recognizing that difference matters. A rigged system often presents itself as meritocracy. If you failed, you must not have been good enough. If you speak up, you must be bitter. But a no-win scenario often exposes the lie underneath, that success was never about merit. It was about obedience, or convenience, or conformity. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. There's power in simply naming the moment. This is a Kobayashi Maru. This is unwinnable in the traditional sense. This is not my failure. This is a rigged structure revealing itself. That kind of clarity can be the beginning of freedom. Freedom to stop trying to win and start trying to stand. You don't walk out of a no-win moment the same. Maybe you lost something. Maybe you stood alone. Maybe you took a hit that no one saw, but you still feel. But maybe, just maybe, you also found something. A clearer sense of what you'll never compromise again. A quiet, stubborn clarity that stays with you long after the dust has settled. At some point, the choice becomes part of your story. Not just the thing you did, but the thing that helped define who you are. Sometimes we need those moments, not because they're fair, but because they forge us. Let's be honest, we love tidy stories about courage. The person who speaks up and is rewarded. The leader who makes the hard call and wins everyone's respect. But real courage is often lonely, and costly, and misunderstood, and it still matters. In a no-win scenario, you learn to stop chasing the perfect outcome and start anchoring to principles. Not what will succeed, but what can I live with? Not what people approve of, but what honors what I know to be true. That shift alone is life-changing. After you've faced one no-win moment, you begin to recognize them faster. Your nervous system tightens. You hear the language. Just follow the process. Don't make waves. There's no good option here. You feel the familiar fog, stress, isolation, moral pressure. And this time, you'll have words for it. You'll have tools. You'll have a deeper sense of who you are and what kind of truth you're willing to carry. So now we know, no-win scenarios aren't just about defeat. They're about definition. They ask, who are you when there's no applause, no escape, and no perfect answer? In the next segment, we'll look at how different people respond to these moments, the archetypes, the instincts, and the ways we each carry our own version of the test. Because the Kobayashi Maru may be unwinnable, but how you face it, that's entirely up to you.